Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tadarajastamo Bhava. Amalobhadayaschaye. Eta etair anavidham. Stitam satve prasidati. Tadarajastamo Bhava. Amalobhadayaschaye. Eta etair anavidham. Stitam satve prasidati. Translation: as soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, the effects of nature's modes of passionate ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankering, disappear. Not bad. Poof. From the heart. Then the devotee is established in goodness and he becomes completely happy. Stitam sattve prasidati. Purport by Srila Prabhupada: a living being in his normal constitutional position is fully satisfied in spiritual bliss. This state of existence is called Brahma Bhuta or Atma Nandi, the state of self-satisfaction. This self-satisfaction is not like the satisfaction of the inactive fool. An inactive fool is in the state of foolish ignorance, whereas the self-satisfied Atmanandi is transcendental to the material state of existence. This stage of perfection is attained as soon as one is fixed in irrevocable devotional service. Devotional service is not inactivity, but the unalloyed activity of the soul. Paragraph. The soul's activity becomes adulterated in contact with matter, and as such, the diseased activities are expressed in the form of lust, desire, hankering, inactivity, foolishness, and sleep. The effect of devotional service becomes manifest by complete elimination of these effects of passion and ignorance. The devotee is fixed at once in the mode of goodness, and he makes further progress to rise to the position of Vasudeva, or the state of unmixed sattva, or Shuddha sattva. Only in this Shuddha sattva state can one always see Krishna eye to eye by dint of pure affection for the Lord. Paragraph. A devotee is always in the mode of unalloyed goodness. Isn't that a nice compliment? But being a devotee is a high position. Therefore, he harms no one. But the non-devotee, however educated he may be, is always harmful. A devotee is neither foolish nor passionate. The harmful, foolish, and passionate cannot be devotees of the Lord, however they may advertise themselves as devotees by outward dress. A devotee is always qualified with all the good qualities of God. Quantitatively, such qualifications may be different. Quantitatively, such qualifications may be different, but qualitatively, both the Lord and his devotee are one and the same. Darajastamo bhava kama lobhagayasya cheta etarana vidham stittam sattve prasidati. So this is verse 19 that comes after verse 18. And verse 18 is describing the Nishtha stage of bhakti. Nishtha is one of the 9 stages of bhakti, where almost completely, but not completely, the pernicious effects of material contamination have been removed. And the statement in previous verses, they become removed by Bhagavata Seva. Bhagavata Seva means service to the Bhagavata, Bhagavan, and Bhagavata. Bhagavan is the Supreme Lord, and Bhagavata is that which is in relation to the Supreme Lord. And there's this non-difference between the Bhagavata and Bhagavan. Like Srimad Bhagavatam, we say Srimad Bhagavatam is the literary manifestation of the Supreme Lord, thus not different from the Supreme Lord. And therefore, literally, we worship. We can perform arti for Srimad Bhag that we sing every day. We offer respect to the spiritual master, and the same level as we offer respect to the personality of Godhead, because he's an intimate representative of the personality of Godhead. The representative is honored as if they're the person because they're the representative. I mean, like an ambassador, or like the police commissioner, or like, arrived in O'Hare Airport. Hi, I'm Mayor so-and-so. Welcome to the Windy City, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So he's the voice. He's not the city, but he's the representative of. And a qualified person, like a teacher. In Vedic culture, the teacher is to be respected because the teacher is, if a qualified teacher is representing the Vedas, the king is representing the personality of Godhead. So the king is to be respected, the Brahman is to be respected, the Vaishnava is to be respected, more than respected, to be served. As if one is serving the Supreme Lord because they're representative of the Supreme Lord. And if some honor goes to the king or to the Brahmana or to the Vaishnava or to the Guru or to the something, it means that respect goes to the Supreme Lord. It's not, doesn't stop, oh, thank you. That is mine. The gift or the honor or the praise or the whatever it is. If one is qualified, it goes to Bhagavan. And by rendering service to the person Bhagavata, or the book Bhag stage beyond by Rajas and Tamas, not just humans, all species. They're plants and animals and birds that, like Prabhupada's example, the crows and the swans. There are different modes of nature influencing them. So the modes of nature pervade the material creation, and being covered by a body that's influenced predominantly by this mode or that mode, then there's characteristics of speech and behavior in humans, but not only humans. So the influence of Bhagavat Bhakti is the modes of nature subside. The influence of the modes of nature subside, particularly the first two. And when these first two subside, something's left. The something that's left, minimally, is goodness, and that may become prominent. And as goodness becomes prominent, it may be that one keeps going, and even goodness is dissolved or disappears. this is the procedure, this sound, vibration, and service, hearing, and based upon hearing, cleansing, and based upon cleansing, awakening of the natural aptitude of the soul, which is service to the Supreme. And in that hearing and chanting and service to the Supreme that follows hearing and chanting, the material atmosphere becomes spiritualized, or that is, the coverings become reduced, eventually eliminated. And when they're eliminated, there's something left, and that's the soul. The soul that's not covered by the modes of nature. And there are symptoms, which we're going to hear in upcoming verses. But this is when irrevocable loving service is established in the heart. Now, there's behaviors of devotional service, 9 processes. 9 processes. And those are behaviors. And then there's the heart. So when the heart becomes cleansed, then the behaviors follow. It's not the other way around. In other words, the process of devotional service is a devotional one. It's not a mechanical one, or the cause and effect. There's benefit for any living entity to hear the holy name. There's benefit that goes to any living entity that hears the holy name. So you have some plants in the house. So when they hear kirtan, there's benefit that goes to the soul. And just by being a plant in your house, benefit, 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 benefit. But the possibility of the plant having kirtan, having shravanam, then kirtanam. So it's permanent. It's a permanent asset, and then a future existence of that soul, maybe whatever the future existence of that soul is, and the activity can continue progressively. And the human form of life not just can, but the message here is the awakening of the pure consciousness of the soul. That's when devotional service becomes an irrevocable fact. What does that mean? Irrevocable. Or say reverse. Is it possible that a soul that becomes very, very elevated, that stops the practices of hearing and chanting, could they again become influenced by the modes of nature and material activities? The answer is yes. Up to and including bhava. There's a nice instruction given in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that offense, and there's different categories and degrees, offense has the power to nullify bhava bhakti up to the point of it's gone, depending upon the degree, or it can become reduced. So there are things that can neutralize devotional service, but irrevocable can mean different things. Irrevocable can mean one has attained the nishtha stage, then it's steady, but irrevocable is more than steady. So there is always the possibility of falling down is the point. I'm bringing this up in part, as I'm bringing it up, I'm thinking of the conversation that Prabhupada had with this priest in London. And he was saying, yes, the possibility is always there that one can fall down. And he gave the example. The iron rod put in fire becomes warm, or hot, becomes like fire. Take it out of the fire. It becomes again iron rod, no longer fire. So it's the contact with fire that makes that iron rod fire-like, or fire. Take it out of the fire of the red-hot iron, and it will burn. So the matter, body, and mind can become spiritualized like the iron rod in fire. And supposing one slackens at the heart level, supposing that happens, and then in turn it will also slacken, at least, eventually, if not immediately, it'll slacken in the behavior part. And as the behavior part slackens, so the power is submission unto the source of everything, unto Krishna. And then there's behaviors that accompany that. So therefore there's emotion or feeling or a heart connection that accompanies the activities of bhakti, the hearing and chanting, etc., activities of bhakti. And when the heart connects with Bhagavan through the medium of bhakti, then the modes of nature subside. Even the mode of goodness subsides, because the mode of goodness is a conditioning force as well. So it doesn't, not that one stops being good, but the mode of goodness subsides because the mode of goodness is always mixed. Every mode is always mixed. And in the condition of what the Bhagavatam here is taking the reader to is there's no more contact with matter or the modes of matter. The connection medium is the medium of hearing and service to the person or the book Bhagavata. Back to the purport. The effect of devotional service becomes manifest by complete elimination of these effects of passion and ignorance. The devotee is fixed at once in the mode of goodness. At once in the mode of goodness doesn't mean you snap your fingers and now it's at once, but it means as a natural consequence of sustained submission to oral reception and hearing from the right source. At once. So it means, or another place, Prabhupada uses the word automatically. Automatically doesn't mean mechanically. At once doesn't mean in an instant. It means it's a natural byproduct. Modes of nature gone, including the mode of goodness. The devotee is fixed at once in the mode of goodness, and he makes further progress to the rise to the position of Vasudeva, unmixed sattva, Shuddha sattva, etc. And then he can always see Krishna, eye to eye, by dint of pure affection for the Lord. Okay, I'm going to end for this morning. Prabhupada was once asked by a reporter, Swamiji, have you seen Krishna? Prabhupada, would you believe me if I told you? Reporter, yeah. Prabhupada, not only I have seen him, but I'm seeing him always. Now, do you believe me? Silence. And what does that always seeing mean? Always seeing, using a very simple example. I'm looking out the window. There's Tulsi plants over by the window, growing very nicely, and there's nice, glass door. And through the glass door is the sunlight. By seeing the sunlight, the inference is the sun is present. because at night the sun wasn't present. It was somewhere else. So not that it didn't exist, but it was not in sight. But through light, one can detect the sun indirectly, but in another sense directly, because there's no light without the source of light. Well, there's no source without what comes from the source. It's similarly, all the material elements of creation have their source. And if one has that understanding, then directly seeing the sun or directly seeing the source is not required. That's Srila Prabhupada's explanation of always seeing Krishna. Now, it can be, like he's saying here, eye to eye, but it's not, seeing the energy of Krishna, and thus the understanding Krishna is present through the medium of his energy. That can be direct seeing also. Depends on the vantage point or perspective that one is speaking from. So we're not pantheists, that nature is God. There are persons that are pantheists. But that's not the teaching. The oneness of nature and God is the energy and the energetic. Oneness. The presence of God is inferred or understood through the presence of his energy. And there is a distinction between something that's matter and something that's directly Krishna. So let's say, for example, a sculpture. And that sculpture isn't the same as the person it's the sculpture of. And one may have feelings of patriotism towards the sculpture, or the sculptor. Michelangelo's sculpture, or Nelson's column, or, something. Washington Monument, reminding one of a great person. But the person and the sculpture are not the same. However, the deity form, and when explaining this, Prabhupada would sometimes say, see the painting on the wall? There's Krishna. And then see the wall? There's Krishna. It depends on having been trained by a qualified person and following the process of that training, then one can see Krishna everywhere, at all times. So this seems to be not that kind of seeing, but seeing Krishna through devotion. That is, Krishna may reveal himself. And he may not. He's the independent autocrat. For example, one of the most elevated symptoms of bhakti is love and separation. And if it's love and separation, that means it's inferred that one isn't seeing Krishna and one is missing seeing Krishna, and so one is feeling separation. So is that one who has love for Krishna and separation less advanced than the person who is understanding material nature as his energy, and by understanding the material energy as his energy, then I'm seeing Krishna? It's a different vantage point. Main point is becoming free from the modes of nature, because that has an impact on the body and the mind, and thus covering consciousness. But as the covering becomes like the iron rod that becomes like fire, and the covering becomes spiritualized, then the ignorant passion and goodness influences are also gone. Not just less, they're gone. by the method of hearing and serving. It's really simple. In principle, the spiritual science is quite simple. Chapter 2 is a good chapter. Fundamentals are here. And then expanded further as the Bhagavatam goes on. Okay, let's see if there's some discussion. From people online.
There are behaviors and there is devotion in the heart.
Yes.
And the behaviors come when the heart becomes purified and not the other way around. But sometimes we see behaviors, like I see behaviors in myself where I know it's not coming from a pure platform, it is coming from a mixed platform.
Got you.
And sometimes there is there we know it's coming from a pure platform when we see a pure person, but then different people who are pure, they have their own personalities, and then they exhibit the devotion in the heart very differently.
Yes.
So how to like understand and reconcile like a picture to like not misunderstand or like make offenses towards them, or like
So you outlined mixed and pure, and in both cases, there's diversity. The diversity of the mix can be a mix of pure and the modes, and the pure, there's no modes, but there's diversity. So that was one of the pictures you painted. Then the question is how to avoid making offense. Well, on the instruction to do so, but there's a science or a philosophy that supports it, and that is unity and diversity. The unity is the soul, and the diversity is different natures of different souls. And the nature of this soul and that soul and another soul may have its impact based upon the body. I'll give an example because it was just in Alachua. Pushkar, superlative artist. Pushkar, his paintings. Whew. And what an interesting personality he is. He's completely unique. But his bhakti is unique. So he's, not to say he's in the category of a pure devotee, but it's an example of diversity from the heart expression. And then somebody else and someone else, deity worship, somebody else, something else, kirtan, something else. And their mood of expressing their devotion is unique. And even amongst kirtaniers and amongst artists and amongst cooks and amongst devotees, there's diversity. And that's nice, it's natural. Prabhupada's example is a bouquet, flowers. And supposing it's only one color and one kind. It's nice, but it's nicer is variety. But then there's the unity is they're all flowers. They come from the same place, they come from earth, they come from seeds, and etc. So there's diversity. And it's part of the beauty. So on the spiritual platform, amongst those who are pure devotees, they express themselves in different ways. And they experience Krishna in different ways. And that's part of the unity and diversity platform. So your question was how to avoid offense. Allow for diversity with unity. And then you don't have to, pick and choose. You, by your nature, you may be more inclined over here. Or you may be inclined over there. And someone else is inclined just the opposite of you, and that's just fine. Because there's diversity, but there's unity. What's the unity resting upon? You can say it's resting upon the soul, but the principle, these souls have one thing: pleasing the Supreme Person. Diversity. Yes, Amara?
Steadiness. Whereas steadiness, does it steady? I want to understand the in-depth meaning of steadiness in devotional service. Like sometimes I confuse it with like doing things on time and regularly, or it is something that internal mood, it is related to internal mood or attitude, or being punctual. So how to apply steadiness?
I want to be clear what question you're asking. Let me just say back what I think you're asking. There's one lens, and that's this one, the punctual, regulated, the symptoms of. And then the other is kind of this other question, from the heart, steadiness from the heart. There's consistency always and focus. And there may not always be, on the other hand, consistency with regularity and punctuality.
And it's external.
Yes, yeah. So there are two lenses or two models. Now the question is what exactly? The question is, how do I deal with my tendency to not be so regulated or not be on time or... This question came in a different form yesterday evening. You remember? So I'll just repeat. I may be... Someone may be, not you, someone may be very fastidious, very clean, very punctual, very, nicely. And nicely and consistently nicely. But their heart may be hard, not soft. But they're really good at being, meticulous and clean and on time. And then there are others that are the other end of the spectrum. Not necessarily always on time, not necessarily, but the way Srila Prabhupada answers this question is, when one has become matured in bhakti, the inside matches the outside. And the standard of what's inside is not only on time and this and that. That like, for example, this nice verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, where one who's on the platform of spontaneous devotion, they may close their eyes and run. You know the verse? They may close their eyes and run, but there's no fault. But normally we don't close our eyes and run. But one may do like that. That means when you close your eyes and run, you may make some boo-boos along the way. But that's a expression of spontaneous bhakti. When one is on the platform of spontaneous bhakti, they may not observe all the vidhis. But their heart is so inspired to please Krishna that they don't pay special attention to the vidhis. We want both the out and the inside. The outward, the vidhis help support the inside. But the purpose of the vidhis is to support the inside. Etayor evakinkara, smartavya satatam vishnur vismartavya. So always remember, never forget. That's a spontaneous. You can try remembering, you can try not forgetting. You can be regulated in those ways, but it's not going to become an irrevocable fact until it's from the heart. So both are important. We find, for example, the description of Raghunath Das and Sanatana Goswami, particularly Sanatana Goswami, his regulations were like lines in stone. They don't move. And even at the most advanced stage, he followed the same things he was following before he was in the most advanced stage. Raghunath Das, same. So the external, but supposing they neglected something on the external, when their spontaneous feelings became very strong, and they would do something or say something that was not on the regulative side, but then restored. So both. And the outside is to help the inside. And the inside drives the outside. So we should be attentive to both.
Remembering Krishna in separation, so seeing Krishna everywhere. So can you kindly elaborate a little bit more on that? Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was always in separation.
Well, it's just a logical conclusion. If one is feeling separation, means one is not seeing. If one, let me just say it. You asked me to elaborate. If one is not seeing, then one may feel separation from the object that I have affinity for, or attachment for, or love for. I'm not seeing, I'm feeling separation. That doesn't mean the one who's not seeing in the mood of separation is in a weaker position than the one who's seeing. So, I'm looking at a painting of Krishna in Mother Jasoda. I'm seeing Krishna always. And then there's a person that's not seeing Krishna always in the mood of separation. Is the one that's seeing always. In the more elevated position, the one that's have this feeling of separation. They're seeing it another way. From the heart. Although not seeing. And a simple example is the sun. Now, where I'm sitting, there's the blinds in the window. I can see this. I can see the light of the sun through the window. But over here, so here I can see the sun directly, and over there I'm seeing it indirectly. But the sun that's over there, the light that's over there, is because of the sun. So I'm seeing, although it's just a light. Because at night, the light goes out. Not seeing. Of course. If when there's attachment, the object of attachment, wants to be with. Naturally. Okay. You have something online? Okay, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. So a question from Girivar Dhari Das Prabhu. How can we perform our service with detachment but not impersonally? How can we identify if we are doing the service with this problem?
How can we identify if?
We are doing this service with this
With what?
impersonally.
Impersonalism.
Yeah.
Well, the litmus test is who is the object of pleasure? And if there isn't a clear sense of the object of pleasure, then it's materialism or impersonalism. Materialism is this is meant to please me, and impersonalism is the focus upon Krishna is gone. So the litmus test is who is to be pleased? What's the intention of pleasing? That's the test. And if the focus is not the bhakti focus, then it can be materialism or impersonalism. Or possibly voidism. Anything else online? Okay.
With regards to Krishna and his form being one and the same, what can be said of an installed deity and uninstalled deity? First part of it.
Wait. Say it again.
So,
What's the difference between an installed and uninstalled deity?
yeah.
The answer to that question is simple. Formal or informal. The uninstalled deity, it's informal, and installed is formal. Simple. It's like, chanting Hare Krishna before initiation and chanting Hare Krishna after initiation. They're both absolute. The uninstalled deity and the installed deity, they're absolute because it's the form of Krishna. And the formalization is installing. So we have this procedure and mantras, et cetera, and the formality is there. Krishna has been invited. Krishna says yes. And now he's being worshipped in a formal way. Informal, formal. Next.
So, continuation points. Sometimes it is said that because temple deities are installed, we give more importance than uninstalled home deities.
No.
Since Krishna is same, can we treat our home deity as good as temple?
You should. And, install your home deity. Why not? If you're serious about deity worship. And more importance, because there is a presiding deity, in a geographic area. That's how Prabhupada used the term. And in addition to you worship at home, it's ideal. It's not imperative, but it's ideal to also worship the deity in the temple. Whether it means as a brahmana and getting on the altar and worshiping that way, or coming before the deity and offering prayers and obeisances, etc. It's not that one in the temple there's more potency than the one that's in your home because he's seen the temple. That's not absolute. And at the same time, the formality of a presiding deity within a geographic area that has special weight and gravity. and so much kirtan and so much worship and so much everything, that benefit goes to the worshiper. So see the deity in the temple as well as the one at home. Next. Anything in the room?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. In a discussion between Satyaraj Khan and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu over the years, Mahaprabhu explained who is a devotee on different levels.
Yes.
And so here in this purport, of course, in this Prabhupada he's talking about a devotee and following the mood of the verse, Tada Rajastamo Bhava. So a devotee that is further along the line.
Yes.
So how do we? So I'm taking this as an invitation or an encouragement that if we follow the process, we can also be there. So we take it that way and not in a way that we, I guess, become dejected, or I'm not. Prabhupada is not talking about me, but he's talking about these advanced souls. So how do we take this as a stepping stone and things like that?
The punchline of your question is not clear. How do we take this as a stepping stone? Is your question?
Yeah,
but it's not clear what you're asking.
Meaning, so here, Prabhupada, like the word devotee.
There are stages.
Yeah, there are stages. And so here, Prabhupada, when he's speaking about the devotee, is he's very definitive that he's beyond the modes of nature, and this is what a devotee is.
Well, he
But
can. In the verse, there's both.
Right.
There, one becomes fixed in goodness, and then one goes beyond goodness. Both are there.
Right.
So there's stages.
Correct.
As you said.
Yeah, and we are definitely not here. At least I'm not here. But
Here means what the verse says.
Yeah, correct. Correct. But so to take it as an encouragement and invitation, if we follow, not become rejected that, I don't have these, I'm not manifesting these qualities, etc. That's what I mean. Yeah.
But it's a process.
Yeah.
And process has stages naturally. It's not quantum leaps. It's stages of, and with patience. So I'm looking at the Tulsi plants. So in course of time, the Tulsi plant will produce flowers, manjaris. And in course of time, the manjaris will produce seeds. And those seeds can be planted, and you can have, many Tulsis. But for plant those seeds, to get the seeds, it takes time. And to take the seeds and fructify the seeds and make more Tulsis, it takes time. It's just a process. It's a cultivation process. So how do we take encouragement? It's a process. And we're not there yet. That's okay. You don't have manjaris and seeds. But you continue sunlight, watering, etc. Follow the process, and the maturing is going on, and gradually. This is one verse, but you go back, and then you go forward, and it's just a snapshot of a stage, and then keep going and keep going, keep going. So the qualifier of your question is so that I don't feel discouraged. I'm not there yet. There's a process, and accept the process with faith. That's bhakti. Accept the process with faith. And then the maturing, following the process properly, the maturing comes. Srila Prabhupada ki?